All right, guys. We are starting Key Concept 5.1, which is industrialization and global capitalism. I think y'all are going to be happy with yourselves as we move into Units 5 and 6 because it's the more modern era. It's stuff that you already have heard about at some point or another, and so I think you're going to be a little bit more comfortable with this information, so I'm excited to get started. Sorry about that. So let's get right into it. This isn't a very long PowerPoint, but it is a lot of information. So here's your outline. All right. The Industrial Revolution began in Western Europe, specifically in Britain, and there were numerous influences or reasons that it happened in Great Britain. As Western Europe built political and economic empires in the New World, the flow of silver and gold from the New World into Europe's treasuries made their societies the richest in the world. And European governments, especially Great Britain, invested part of this income that they were receiving from the New World in the form of monetary prizes to individuals who invented more efficient ways to transport goods, grow crops, defeat enemies, etc., etc. Anything that might significantly contribute to the nation's increased share of the global mercantilist pie was rewarded. So they really invested in their entrepreneurs. Their geography, well, they had incentives like government-sponsored prizes for useful inventions, and these were factors that triggered this Industrial Revolution, but the right type of natural resources to create these inventions was crucial. Britain had coal, iron, good soil, fast-moving rivers to turn these water wheels and power machines, and many natural harbors that imported raw materials from faraway colonies. Products manufactured from these raw materials were exported back to millions of colonial consumers and other markets around the globe. So Great Britain just had a really great setup from the get-go. Economics and social mobility, especially in Britain and to a lesser degree in the rest of Western Europe, people could move up the economic and social ladder if they developed a money-making invention. So if they became somebody who, invented the telegraph or invented some sort of new water wheel or some sort of new transportation method or new production method that was going to help it make shirts or pants or shoes or something like that quicker, then that made you a winner in society's eyes. Great Britain was known as a nation of tinkerers at this point because everybody was trying to come up with the next big thing. Banks loaned money to inventors in whom they had faith, and like I talked about earlier, European governments offered prizes for inventions that they considered helpful to their global economic and political goals. So these conditions did not exist outside Europe at the beginning of this era. So again, that's just another reason why this happened in Great Britain and in Western Europe rather than the rest of the world. And then you have your workforce. Britain had a large number of people who were already skilled in working with metal tools, and these were skills necessary for the creation of machines that would be used to develop industry even further. And also, many agricultural workers in Great Britain were forced off the farmland by a government-approved policy called the Enclosure Movement. The Enclosure Movement was basically this: large landholders fenced pastures that previously had been left open for common use, and this created a sizable population of landless laborers. Sorry, I've lost my place. And now these landless peasants migrated to the cities, and this formed a large potential workforce for these factories. So, why didn't the Industrial Revolution begin somewhere else? Well, Africa had a great deal more natural resources than Western Europe did. Ming China had a well-organized government and a strong economy, and India and China both had a tradition of technological development. So why didn't it happen there? Western Europe, however, had all the necessary factors for industrial development by the mid-18th century. They had incentive, they had materials, and they had skilled labor. These are called the factors of production, and that's a key term that you might see pop up on the AP exam, so you need to be familiar with it. When we talk about factors of production, we're talking about land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, really. Land is the natural resources like coal and iron ore. Labor is the people that we just talked about, skilled and unskilled. Capital, when we say capital, we're talking about banking and investment interests capable of funding the cost of factories and machinery. And then entrepreneurship is groups of individuals with the knowledge of combining land, labor, and capital to establish this factory production. And that's a good little visual that you have right there to the right that shows that's still how new goods are created, how goods are created today. If you have the natural resources, human resources, and the capital resources, it's somebody to create it, then you are going to create goods and services for people.